I want to tell you the secret of the silent finish. Forget the knockout. The most terrifying moments in MMA happen when technique triumphs over power, forcing a surrender or a snap. The stakes are real, but even within the legal unified rules, these 10 submissions are absolutely devastating. Today, we're breaking down the 10 most brutal, effective, and perfectly legal traps in the cage. We're not just analyzing pain, we're analyzing genius. Let's get your mind right and dive into the king of all finishes. 1. The rear naked choke. The rear naked choke is the highest percentage finishing move in MMA and the ultimate proof of positional dominance. It's a blood choke that starves the brain of oxygen in just seconds by compressing the carotid arteries. The mechanics are simple. Establish back control, slide the forearm beneath the chin, secure the figure 4 grip, biceps to wrist, and squeeze the chest forward. Its perfection lies in the fact that it requires zero strength advantage to work. Defenses must focus on preventing the back take or desperately fighting the hands before the lock is set. Fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov turned this into a terrifying inevitability, using his smothering pressure to make the RNC the final, clinical conclusion of every single fight. 2. The armbar. The armbar is the foundational joint lock of BJJ, designed to hyperextend the opponent's elbow with surgical precision. It is incredibly versatile, attackable from almost any position. The core principle involves isolating the arm and placing the elbow directly across your pelvis, which serves as the powerful fulcrum. You secure the wrist, control the head with your legs, and drive your hips upward, maximizing torque on the joint. To maximize pain, the thumb must be pointing up to align the joint. The main defense is the hitchhiker escape, relying on speed to rotate out before the hips fully engage. Ronda Rousey was the armbar's greatest ambassador, using explosive judo-based transitions to lock in the submission with terrifying speed, forcing immediate taps and turning the technique into a viral phenomenon. 3. The triangle choke. The triangle choke is the most powerful submission that uses the legs, proving the lower body can be a devastating choking tool. Guard, it traps the opponent's head and one arm inside a figure 4 created by the defender's legs. The brilliance is in the perfect choking angle. The defender must pull the attacker's head down and shift their hips sharply to the side, ensuring the opponent's own shoulder assists in compressing the arteries. The defense relies on maintaining perfect posture and stacking the defender to relieve pressure. Charles Oliveira epitomizes the modern triangle, using it not just as a move, but as one inescapable web of submissions, demonstrating how relentless offensive grappling can make your back a dangerous place to be. 4. The guillotine choke. The guillotine choke is the ultimate counter-wrestling submission, often catching an opponent shooting for a desperate takedown. It is a high-risk move that can be applied standing, kneeling, or falling backward. The technique involves wrapping the arm deep around the opponent's neck and locking the hands, squeezing with powerful force. The most painful variant, the marcellatine, applies a brutal crushing effect directly to the trachea alongside the blood restriction. The critical defense is recognizing the initial trap and immediately changing your posture, keeping your head up and driving forward to eliminate the choking angle. Fighters like Nate Diaz have an iconic ironclad guillotine, capitalizing on an opponent's momentum to turn their offensive takedown into an instant defensive tap-out. 5. The Kimura, double wrist lock. The Kimura is a shoulder lock named after the man who famously used it against Helio Gracie, but it's more of a devastating control system. This submission isolates the opponent's arm, pulling their wrist behind their back and locking the arm with the figure 4 grip. The attacker then uses their entire body to rotate and lift the opponent's elbow, putting agonizing torque on the shoulder and elbow joints. The defense hinges entirely on grip fighting, clasping the hands together or hugging the torso to prevent the wrist isolation. Glover Teixeira showcases its true value, utilizing the Kimura grip not only for the finish, but to initiate powerful sweeps and dictate the opponent's base, making it a constant, painful strategic threat from any position. 6. The dark choke. The Darce choke is a brutal, crushing maneuver that thrives in scrambles, often catching opponents as they transition from a takedown. It is an arm triangle variant where the choking arm threads under the opponent's near armpit, across the neck, and then locks up at the shoulder. The unique finish requires the attacker to roll onto their side and drive their bicep and chest into the neck, creating an overwhelming, inescapable vice. This and precision to secure. Defense means immediately preventing the arm from crossing the neck and flattening out the body. Tony Ferguson is notorious for his unorthodox and deadly Darce, utilizing it as a surprise finisher in moments of chaos, proving its power as a silent killer in high-pressure transitions. 7. The Americana, key lock. The Americana, or key lock, is a classic shoulder lock, typically executed from a dominant top position like side control. It's the perfect positional punishment for an opponent focused solely on survival. The attacker controls the opponent's wrist with one hand and threads the other arm under the elbow to complete the figure four, then cranks the forearm backward and down. This puts immense focused pressure on the shoulder and elbow joint. The key to defense is keeping the elbow tight to the ribs and preventing the opponent from securing the figure four grip. Daniel Cormier and other heavy top control grapplers use the Americana not just for the finish, but to exert constant, agonizing pressure, forcing opponents to compromise their position and expose themselves to strikes. 8. The omoplata, shoulder lock. The omoplata is one of the most dynamic and effective submissions launched from the guard, using the powerful leverage of the legs to isolate and attack the shoulder joint. The defender traps the opponent's shoulder between their legs and uses their hips to create a 4-point torque system, forcing the shoulder into a dangerous angle. The successful application requires the defender to sit up, control the attacker's posture, and shift their hips sharply to apply the debilitating pressure. The main defense is a quick, explosive forward roll to relieve the pressure before the hips engage. While often used to sweep and gain top position, the omoplata's constant threat, demonstrated by slick specialists like Ryan Hall, forces high-level opponents to always compromise their base. 9. The straight ankle lock, Achilles lock. Moving the pain to the lower body, the straight ankle lock is a universally legal submission that targets the ankle joint and the Achilles tendon. The technique involves isolating the foot, gripping the ankle with the forearm placed directly over the tendon, and extending the hips to create crushing pressure. This agonizing attack can tear ligaments if the tap isn't immediate. It's a simple grip that creates massive, focused destruction. Defenses focus on turning the heel out to remove the leverage and using the free foot to boot the attacker's hips to break the connection. It remains a highly effective, always legal threat, and a simple reminder that the small joints of the ankle are incredibly vulnerable to powerful leverage.
Subscribe to master yourself on it. Learn, defend, grow.